Hi everyone, it's Nicole here with a card featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. This is a die cuts only card with the exception of some stamped sentiments. I'm combining some older dies to create this little bunny and carrot garden scene. I thought it would be really fun to take the stitched garden border, a simple stitched hillside border, and then carrots from both the stitched garden border and the tiny gift box bunny add-on to create my carrot garden, and then of course use that same tiny gift box bunny to add these little bunnies to our carrot garden. Not only is this great for spring and Easter, but I opted to not use Easter sentiments and instead made this more of a fun little punny play on words with the sentiments I'm going to use. I love the stitched garden border. You could make a flower garden, a vegetable garden, whatever you want to do with this, but I am going to die cut a bunch of carrots and the greenery and color them in and add shading with Copic markers. I'm even doing that with the bunnies as well. And I'm adding distress ink then to my garden border to give it a little bit more depth and dimension. I'm using a couple of shades of Lawn Fawn cardstock here for my background and for that ground garden type effect with some ground espresso distress ink. And to line up these borders perfectly when I adhere this one, the stitched garden border, to the simple stitched hillside border, I'm going to use a misti stamp positioner to line them up perfectly. So I'm going to take my misti, place the background in there, and then simply line up the stitched garden border, and it goes perfectly in place. This is my favorite way to adhere panel pieces like this because it just lines them up perfectly without having to try to eyeball it and maybe get it wrong. For the background then, I have die cut a stitched rectangle. This is the A2 sized stitched rectangle, which I actually die cut from both shades of brown cardstock because I wanted everything to have that same stitched border around. So I keep saying stitched, die cut 3 rectangles first, and then I die cut the stitched garden border and simple stitched hillside from those rectangles. I've added Mermaid Lagoon Distress ink to my Mermaid cardstock background for a little added depth and dimension. Spritz that with water from a distress sprayer. We're going to blot that dry. And then just like we added the borders for the ground, for the garden, we are going to take our misti again, place our background in the misti, line up those borders, and pop that down in place. So this is the background of the scene card we're building. I have already off camera die cut the components for my card. We're going to have 2 bunnies and then a bunch of carrots in 2 sizes. And the way I got 2 sizes is the larger one is from the stitched garden border, and the small one is from the tiny gift box bunny add-on. I am taking Copic markers. I've listed the colors across the top of the screen, and I'm adding shading to all of my carrots. This is going to give them awesome depth and dimension without having to color them in completely with Copic markers. This was a much quicker and easier way than die cutting everything from white cardstock and coloring it, but that is another option. If you don't have the right color of cardstock, you can always die cut it from white cardstock and add color with your favorite coloring medium. For the greenery, the tops of the carrots, I am not blending that out. I'm doing a little feathering technique to add texture to the top of each of those carrot pieces. Then we're going to glue them together with Lawn Fawn glue tube adhesive. So simply adding all of these little pieces together, and we're going to continue this for all of the carrots, whether they're large or small. I did die cut all the components for the carrots from multiple shades of orange and green cardstock. I'm using Lawn Fawn fake tan, and canned pumpkin. And I'm using Lawn Fawn Cilantro and Noble Fir cardstocks for the carrots. The bunny, we're going to add texture and interest to the bunny with some warm gray Copic markers in very light colors. Blend that out with the colorless blender. And then add some little dot, pardon me, detail around the edges to give the bunnies a little bit added texture, much like I would do if I had stamped a bunny image and colored it in completely with Copic markers. The contrasting, excuse me again, pieces for the bunny are going to be die cut from ballet slippers and black licorice cardstock. So we're going to fill in the bunny's ears, the inside there with ballet slippers cardstock. We're going to fill in the eyes and the nose with black licorice cardstock die cut pieces. So it's going to be completely inlay. And we're going to add the cheek pieces. Those are die cut separately with ballet slippers cardstock and add those to the cheeks of our bunny. We could also color those in with a Copic marker if we wanted to. It's really just whatever you want to do here. Now, the sentiments for my card are from the Some Bunny stamp set. I will tell you that somehow I missed recording this part. I think my memory card was full and I didn't realize it, so I will apologize for that. At the end of the video, that is when I stamped. I stamped everything last, and I will talk a little bit more about that, but all of my sentiments are from the Some Bunny stamp set. I die cut many more carrots than I thought I was going to need, so I had tons of them, and somehow I ended up using every single carrot, and I didn't have to die cut any extras, which was great, but I used all of them. I thought there was no way I would fill the garden, and I loved them so much, and I thought they were so stinking cute and fun that I ended up using every single one, including one that I'm going to tuck into the bunny's arms, because there is that die cut piece in the tiny gift box add-on that makes cutting arms for the bunny possible, so it can hold on to something. And for the bunny, of course, it's the carrot, or there's an Easter egg in this as well. I think it would even be cute to switch the sentiments for this card out, make it an Easter card, and incorporate some Easter eggs into this design and not just carrots, almost kind of like a little hide and seek type of deal. I think that would be really cute too. This is just, again, a little bit more detail showing you how I'm adding the color to these color cardstock pieces. You can do as much or as little shading as you want to. And if ever your ink is just a little too harsh, maybe it didn't blend quite like you think, the colorless blender is a great one to just mute those edges. It's more of, I call it an eraser, even though it doesn't erase, than a blender. It's just going to kind of dull those edges a little bit. I like the two tones of the carrots, adds instant interest. I did not change the colors of markers I used. I used the same ones, whether it was a darker carrot or a lighter one. We have just a few more to add color to. And then something I've been loving with all of the Lawn Fawn die cuts, whether they be critters, whether they're like the woodland critter huggers or the tiny gift box add-ons in any critter, I like adding a bow to their head. I think that the bows are so cute and they add an instant fun touch. Look through your Lawn Fawn dies. There are so many die collections that have a tiny bow. I'm using one from the mini wreath, but you could easily use one. I think the new raccoon and fox tiny box add-on has one. I'm trying to think. There's so many sets, you guys. Shop your Lawn Fawn sets. See what sets have a bow. If you want a little bit bigger bow, the Put a Bow on It die set from Lawn Fawn, it has multiple size bows, but it has a smaller one. It would be a little bit bigger, but it would work. There's just bows in everything, so you can always do that and make a little cardstock bow, which I am going to do here in a little bit. I really like those little bows on their head. I think it adds a nice little pop of color and a fun little touch. Now I'm adding some little white dots to my carrots as well for a little extra highlight. We are going to be doing that to all of our die cut pieces, which you'll see as we build the design. And we are going to mix and match with our carrots. So some of the little stitched garden cutouts in the border, I'm going to put 2 carrots. Some I will just do 1, but we're going to mix and match all the way across, completely fill in this great little garden. We have our bunny here. We're going to inlay the nose. We're going to inlay the eyes. We're going to inlay the insides of the ears. All of the things to finish off this cute little bunny face, almost like it's peeking up out of the garden. Adding a little white highlight to the eyes. We will put glossy accents over the eyes and the nose. And when the nose is completely dry, I did go in and add white pen detail on top of the glossy accents. I added eyelashes with a fine tip black pin. The insides of the ears, the pink cardstock, we're going to add shading to that. Everything has shading. I wanted it to be really consistent, so I did that with R21. And some of these pieces can be kind of small. A little tool of some sort makes picking them up so much easier. This is the crystal katana that I'm using today. Adding the little pink cheeks to our bunny. And then I, for whatever reason, love Nuvo Crystal Drops and White Blizzard, which gives them a sparkly cheek. Maybe it's their highlighter, I don't know. I like adding little pink cheeks to the bunny. I think it's really cute and makes them nice and sparkly and fun. I did use liquid glue to glue everything in place. For whatever reason, lately I have really been enjoying the Lawn Fawn glue tube liquid glue. I don't have to worry about things falling off. I noticed that sometimes when I use a tape runner or glue dots or whatever, if a card gets stuck in a stack or whatever, other papers can jostle those pieces loose. It's something you don't have to worry about as much with liquid adhesive. It's a lot harder to move those. It's a good and a bad thing. There's pros and cons to it because you can't really move them once you've put them in place. So be pretty sure if you're using liquid adhesive that you have placed the image or die cut where you want it so that you don't have to tear apart your whole project to put it together. Now, I actually didn't realize I had not die cut or adhered my bunny. So I was able to pop her up, and die cut those arms in the bunny because I want it to hold one of the carrots. And I can just simply line that up with the little inlay pieces that I've already secured to my card. And we can pop up one of her arms and tuck that carrot in there. So cute. I just love how this turned out. So these bunnies are out in the garden gathering some carrots. We have just a couple more little carrots to add to our card. So cute. Now, this is the glossy accents for the eyes and the nose. And that's really just going to draw attention to their sweet little faces. Let's take our white pen and finish adding detail to the carrots. I added little dotted detail to all of the carrots. We'll even go in and add detail to our bunnies. We'll add detail to the garden, the bows in the bunny's hair, all of the little pieces like that. And I'm just going and adding all of these little details. Some have dots, some have little lines and dots. Combination of both. Little highlights on the ears. Looking really cute now. The Nuvo crystal drops on the cheeks. For the hair bow, we are going to add a little yellow marker to the yellow bow and a pink marker to the pink bow. Both are going to just be assembled then. And I've shared this in other videos. Tweezers can be your best friend when assembling bows like this, because that way you can pinch that center together and hold it really good while the glue dries. It makes the bow look really nice. And then even when you want to add that then to your card, you can pinch that together. I did not use the bow tails. I chose not to, but I wanted to share, you know, if you choose to use those, they're really cute as well. So the mini wreath comes with that kind of end. Some of the other bows might have the flat little notched ends. So just, as I mentioned earlier, lots of options for bows to add to your cute critters. So adding in our final bunny, so we have two of them. Because this was a friendship card, I thought it would really be nice to have two bunnies on this one. Again, doing all the little inlay pieces, the insides of the ears, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. We've added texture with Copic markers to the bunny as well. We want to add the little cheeks to our bunny. These don't show quite as much as the other one, but at an angle you could kind of see them. So I want to make sure both bunnies have those little pink sparkly cheeks. The crystal katana works great in this instance for picking it up and popping it where you want it to go. Sorry, my head is in the way. I dropped this one and it kept trying to disappear. And there's our cute little garden border. So let's add the sparkle to this bunny's cheeks. I added glossy accents to the eyes. Now, because I did all of these, the wet stuff before, I had done this previously and came back an hour or two later, I believe. So I was able to stamp the sentiments. I had to go somewhere, so this is what worked for me. I wanted to go ahead and add anything that was wet so it would have time to dry, and I could photograph my project when I got home. If you are doing this project, I would suggest going ahead and stamping your sentiments first, and then finishing with glossy accents or Nuvo crystal drops or anything like that. This just worked for me. As I mentioned, since I had to leave for a while, I wanted all of those elements to have the chance to sit and completely dry. And then as it turned out, I ended up adding some additional die cuts later that I had to sit and let dry too. So it just kind of is one of those things. I added sentiments from that Some Bunny stamp set up above and down below, embossed with white embossing powder, added some little hearts from another die collection, and added Nuvo crystal white blizzard dots to those as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this all die cut card featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more projects featuring Lawn Fawn that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.